I am ready for success. I am success. I am ready. I am ready. I am ready. I am ready. Hello and welcome. It is June 14th, 2017. It is the Supervisor Story with James Lott Jr. And that is actually my song called I Am Ready. Yes, I have a song. It is out there. It's being in wide release tomorrow, June 15th. It'll be released on iTunes and Amazon Music. You can get it there. Right now it's on SoundCloud on my page, James Lott Jr., and available to buy on Google Play under James Lott Jr. I want to give a special shout out to my producer of that song, Palms. It's a fun, upbeat song called Conscious Dance Music, because we need consciousness and we need positivity out there, and that's what I try to promote. It's a Super Organizer Show. I'm here. We're live from Columbus, Ohio. You're like, where's that? It's in the Midwest, a beautiful part of the Midwest that are home to Bob Evans and things I love there. I'm going to talk about all that in a second. I have a great guest who's from the area. She's also a NAPO chapter member here, and she has her company, Simple Solutions Design, and she's just wonderful, and she has a name that's close to somebody else whose name that my friend was like, you're interviewing that person? I'm like, no, somebody else. She's helping people also, and I'm so glad that she could take the time out because she is busy. And she has 2 small children, and I called her Superwoman the other day in our exchange. Miss Christy Lingo. How are you, Christy?
Hi, James. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. I'm honored to have you on my show. Okay, so my friend's like, you're interviewing Christy Lingo? I go, no, that's somebody else who helps people also, but it's a fitness person. This person helps people also in a way that's really good that we need. That's organization. She helps moms out. So I had to laugh for that. I was like, no, I'm not interviewing that person.
Well, I find the organization industry to be very similar to the fitness industry. I feel like people that struggle with fitness sort of have similar problems. So I can see it's like a life fitness expert as opposed to a body fitness expert.
I agree. They are very, very, I call them kind of sibling industries on some level. It's about changing your mindset to change your life and having systems put in place, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, now I call mothers. Oh, but before I even get to all that, of course, I almost forgot. See, I'm doing this. You guys are doing this live. So this isn't edited. This isn't scripted. This is just having a good time. Yes, you guys know I do live television every week on AfterBuzz TV and AfterBuzzTV.com, and I love the whole live format. You just get out there, you just do it. But I forgot almost, and I shouldn't forget because it's very important. I just every single show for the last almost 3 years, my thanks and gratitude. I give thanks and gratitude every day for waking up and actually being able to get out of bed. And as you get a little older, it's a little harder to get out of bed and take care of the day. And I want to give some thanks and gratitude that's very specific to this area. I want to give thanks and gratitude. I guess I mentioned earlier Bob Evans for having the best breakfast on earth. The best breakfast. Christy, you have no idea. I love me some Bob Evans. I wish they had Bob Evans in California. I wish they did. God, they don't make
biscuits, man. It brings me back every time.
That's what it is, and it's not just the biscuits. It's the gravy. It's the real pork sausage gravy, not this weird gravy they do in California. This is not for real. Also, Skyline Chili. I love me some Skyline Chili. Der Dutchman, which is a great place that's outside of Columbus, and I will be there Saturday for an event. My own fan event. Imagine that. The When It Comes to Heart fans, the Hardys are throwing me a fan event at Der Dutchman on Saturday. I'm very excited to be with them and do that. I want to thank the NAPO chapters of Ohio and North Coast. And there are 2 separate chapters, but they're both in the great state of Ohio. I want to give thanks and gratitude to my cousins and the family that I have here that is just wonderful and opening and welcoming. They have swimming pools. They have drinks. They have everything that I like when I come here. They have it all. So, Miss Christy, I always say that mothers that are, whether they are stay-at-home moms or are in the workforce, it's still a job. And I kind of changed calling mothers into house managers. That's kind of how I go with that. What is your feeling about that?
Yeah, and I can see where that is. What's so interesting about the job of mom that has changed so much over the course of, let's say, the last 50 years is that we've gone from thing really was about like tending the house and making dinner and things like that. And that's sort of that iconic Donna Reed version of mom that we see from the 1950s or, whatever. Whereas now, like, we have all of those sort of expectations that people have grown up with, on top of having kids that are involved in 17 different sports and extracurricular activities and, and all these kind of things. So we've also become these chauffeurs and coaches and things like that. So the workload for mothers has quadrupled or more in the past, 50 years. And really what I feel like, as house managers, they start to drown because if you're trying to manage 100 hours worth of work in 40 hours, it's not going to work.
Yes. Well, my thing is, not just that, you're also mainly doing the bills a lot of times. You handle the bill making. You handle, make sure all the appointments are in order. There's so many different parts that have to be done in just a single day that I don't know. I always say women have a natural tendency to be multitaskers and men have to learn it. But it can be learned. It's learned behavior. Everybody can learn it. But I just feel like women have this natural instinct of just, you have to kind of work it, massage it too, but you have to make sure that the kids' appointments are happening at school, their vaccination shots are up to date, and make sure there's food in the house, and make sure that the laundry is done, and make sure, there's so much, isn't there?
There is. It is ridiculous the amount of time that you spend on just making sure everybody stays fed and, a roof over their head and so on and so forth. Like, it is very hard. And I think that that's where moms can really use a professional organizer in their life to help them either set up a system or even just hit that reset button of, I have gotten so behind on everything in my life, whether it's physical stuff, like I don't have time to put away my laundry, or things like you're saying, like the bills. Like, I don't even feel like I have time to open my mail, and now I'm 3 months behind on the electric bill. And I think all of those things, you become overwhelmed, you become stressed, it becomes that vicious cycle of, I don't have time, so I don't do it, but because I don't do it, I get so far behind that I don't have time to catch up and so on and so forth. So I think that's really where we as organizers can help families, and typically I say moms just because that's usually the face I see if I'm there during the day, but dads too. They all sort of need that help to sort of keep the family in line and make sure that everything keeps running smoothly.
I'm glad this is the week of Father's Day, so I'm glad you brought that up. I'm a father and grandfather myself. So yes, and dads too. I think just the home itself, whether it's an apartment or a condo or a huge house, it doesn't matter. There are a lot of things that have to kind of be put into place. It can be something as simple, because I work with some moms too out in California, where it's just like the placement of the kids' snacks in the cabinet. If they're placed at a place that's convenient and the kids can reach it and it's organized, that saves moms like 2 minutes right there. Like, it can be something that simple, can it?
Yeah, and so we're always looking for little solutions like that. I always tell moms when I first go in, like, they have this dream of like a mudroom or lockers that are by the back door, but it's like not where the family goes in and out of the house. And I usually say to them, that's fine, we can do that there, but we need to work within the door your family uses, because they're still going to walk in the door and dump their bags on the floor right there. So can we come up with a solution that'll work there? Because again, that's going to save mom time or kids time of picking up those bags and taking them over to the place where they go if they've gotten in that habit of coming in and dumping them. So, like anything that you can do to save a minute here or a minute there as a mom is gold.
So you do agree with the fact of modifying, if you have to, systems that kind of bend to a person's habits?
Yeah, I feel like it's easier to implement something new if you sort of work within a habit that's already created. Yeah. And then as you sort of, like everything changes, everything modifies. I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago today. Yeah. And so so our goal is to make sure that the kids' bags get put into a locker when they walk in the door. Let's start out by giving them a space to put that bag immediately so they get the idea of putting it away. And then if we want to move that cabinet or locker or hook or whatever it is to a different place, we've established the habit of putting it away. Now let's make it more of our vision. It's a step-by-step sort of process, because I feel like you introduce too much change, especially for kids that have a lot on their plates with school and extracurricular activities and things like that. You're less likely to have it stick. It kind of goes like the fitness industry thing. Like if you do something too quick, the results are less likely to stick. Whereas if you lose a pound a week, you're much more likely to stay with it. And I feel the same way about organizing. If we do those incremental small steps of reestablishing a habit, getting them to put things away, and then potentially changing where the cabinet is that they put things in, you're much more likely to have it stick than if you try to do too much and then everybody gives up after 2 weeks.
I love that advice. I'm a person who's very much a step-by-step person. I'm a person who also, I do less actual organizing, now I'm more on the media side of it, but when I was organizing heavily a lot of times, I like to tell people I uniquely find ways that are unique to you in terms of setting up systems. And I agree with you with the whole, you start here, doesn't mean it has to be there forever, but yeah, you'll gradually get to where you want to go. But like, take the time limit off, take the time period off, and just get in the habit. Isn't it all about mindset and habit anyway in the beginning?
Really?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And if you feel overwhelmed by everything, all of the changes, I feel like it's just so much harder to keep up with it. And,
Yes.
What I want you to do is feel successful, just feel like you're getting it done. And so, let's make a small change that will have a big impact later.
It's funny because I know people who, the general thought is that you see a giant pile in front of you, you want to clear it out. But no, actually it's the opposite. You see a giant pile in front of you, it makes you go, never mind. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Every your mindset completely changes. Isn't that funny how the inertia happens? Nothing happens. You just go, okay. The pile just sit there. Because you said it's too much.
Yeah, I had a class last night about paper organizing, and one of the moms was talking to me about this giant pile of quote-unquote important papers that she's just letting pile up, and she doesn't even know what's in it anymore. She's like, it might be important, it might not be important. But she was like, I don't even know how to tackle it. And I said, you know what? Take a timer and set it for 10 minutes or 5 minutes.
Yes.
And I was like, and when I'll step away. Because if you feel like you want to keep going, that's fine. But the idea being is I want you at the end of the week to see what 35 minutes or 70 minutes of time on that pile gets you, because I want to show you that it doesn't have to be a 6-hour session on your Saturday afternoon where you finally don't have kids. I want to show you that a little bit a day can help you get through that pile and make you feel accomplished.
Yes, love it. I love that advice. Because I always have all the time too. Just do a little time set. Try it, and you'll see that if you did 5 minutes a day on something, that will save you so much time later. So the pile won't look so daunting, and it won't be just so like, I gotta get to that pile. And again, we'll talk about it to death. I gotta get to that pile. I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll get to it tomorrow night. I'll get, like you said, wait till the kids go away to grandma's on Saturday. Like, why are we doing that? We need to find a way to kind of, especially in the initial stage. I always feel all the time, it's an initial phase of setting up a system and getting in the mindset. It's gonna take a little extra work, but like, trust me, everybody. Once it's in place, you will be so happy. That's why we say, Christy, all the time. You trust us. You'll be so happy.
Yeah. Well, then I always work with my clients on the idea of past, present, future. Like, I feel like organizing encompasses all of that. So we have to deal with the stuff that you didn't deal with in the future. We have to deal with the stuff that is currently coming into your house, whether it's things or toys or papers or things like that. And then we have to set you up for success in the future. Like, it's not just one of those. Mm-hmm. Every single thing that we come across as organizers involves all three parts of that. Whether it's a pantry or a toy room or whatever, we want to deal with what came in the past that is causing the clutter or the organizing issues. We want to, have a way in the present that we can keep it maintained, and then we want to set ourselves up for success. For instance, in toys, like set up a schedule of going through and paring things down before the holidays or before a birthday party, so that we have room for the new influx of stuff that would be coming in. And so I feel like organizing really encompasses all three of those sort
past, present, future. I like that. It's very true. And I had an organizer on my show say once, part of organizing is thinking about your tomorrow self. And I love that. I love it
totally
too.
True.
I love that because it is, because you're dealing with your past and present today to make sure that your tomorrow self has less work to do. And I also like another phrase someone told me once was that, and I always say it all the time, that professional organizers are the laziest people in the world. And when I first, and I love it. What do you say?
Oh, I was gonna say, I say it. I am organized, so I can be lazy.
Exactly. I all that. That's so funny. But all that is just like, because people say, I'm like, no, listen. I'm like, listen to what we're saying. It's like basically we're saying because we have things and systems in place, we're not spending 17 minutes a day trying to find our keys. We don't want to. We want to be able to go somewhere, and those are where the keys are. Perfect. Got it. That's where the wallet is. Well, for me, a wallet. Perfect. For women, it'd be a purse or whatever. Like, that's where that is. Got it. I need something for my daughter right now. Sorry, girl, put you on blast at the moment. But she's trying to find some documents for my grandson, and she can't find them. I'm like, well, if you were to follow after your father, you'd find him right away. It's like because again, it's like I said, you see exactly. And my family. I come from a family of people who are not organized. It's so interesting. But my daughter has 3 kids, and I love my beautiful 3 grandchildren. My one grandson, Zayden, just graduated high school. Hi, Zayden. But it's tough. She has 3 kids, and like you said, they each have soccer practices, they each have baseball things, they each have school stuff. I know it's hard. Each have their own set of medical records, and dental. I know it's hard, but it's like there's a system that Christy can show you guys. People in Ohio, she can show you a system where everything will be in place. So you need that file for them dental records. You can go right there in 2 seconds, and it's there. And that's what we're trying to get across.
Absolutely, that's the easiest thing.
Yes. Now, because when it comes to kids, and like yourself, you have 2 small ones under the age of 5, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I got so many questions because I admire, I have some admiration for you. One, when did you get into organizing, and was it a calling for you?
So I started, it was actually when my husband and I started talking about having kids. I actually previously worked as a California guy. You will know Trader Joe's.
Oh, yeah.
For Trader Joe's for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And we started looking into something because of the hours and things like that. I wanted to do something that I can control my hours, because I wanted to be able to be a mom that could go to the class for the Valentine's Day party or whatever. And so I just kind of like sat down and went through my skill set. And at the same time, we moved into our house, and the move went very smoothly, it was very organized, and all of my friends and family were joking about how, like, we will you to come help us move, or I can't believe you have everything put away and labeled already. And one of my friends actually said to me, you should become a professional organizer, which I didn't even realize that the industry existed. He like never refused him giving money, and I was like, within 2 weeks of having this whole conversation and sort of like looking into the industry and things like that. And I start to talk to her, and she was a NAPO, Ohio member, and she invited me to the meeting, which was coming up soon, and I was able to go, and then that was it. I was hooked, I was sold, and I joined NAPO, Ohio, and I joined NAPO National, started taking some classes, and I sort of, spent about 3 years really sort of getting my feet wet in the industry. I did a lot of subcontracting with other organizers just to sort of like see how other people worked and see, the type of clients that they worked with, and, what their talking to people was, and so on and so forth. And by the end of that 3rd year, I did have some of my own clients, but I tend to keep it pretty close just because I felt like I was, just like learning on the job. And after that 3rd year, I really felt like my business just sort of started to grow fairly rapidly, because I started to be more confident. I started to put myself out there a little bit more. And so that was in 2009. So I have been in business now it'll be 8 years at the beginning of September. And just constantly growing and changing and learning and just, loving every minute of it.
Girl, I'll tell you something. So I started 2009 also. This is really funny. I was listening, like, oh my gosh, I started too. Again, someone told me I should be an organizer. I'm like, what is that? Like, I had no. I mean, I'm like the people on Clean House and Hoarders. Like, I had no idea what they were talking about. I mean, I had no idea. I didn't know there was a chapter or organization like NAPO. I had no clue about any of that stuff. I come from finance and other things. I was just like, I'm insurance. I was like, I have no idea. And so I think it's kind of funny you were just saying how. I'm sorry.
No, I was just laughing at you.
Yeah, no, because funny, because like you said, you were trying to find something that's going to fit your schedule. I heard Trader Joe's is a good company to work for, actually. I mean, you were there 10 years. Was it good for you?
Oh, yeah, they're fantastic. If I could have made it work with the kids' schedule, I would have stayed.
Yeah, no, I heard they're really good to work for. So it's funny when friends said to me, too, like, you're always so organized and blah, blah, blah. I know my story's out there. People have heard it like 10,000 times, so I won't say it again, but it's funny that once I started doing it, I found we're one of the few professions that almost every single person needs us in some form. There's not really, I'm trying to think. I mean, besides health care, maybe education. I'm trying to think of what else that everyone, that's a very wide range of people could use us. Okay, I don't know if you.
And I think that's what.
Go ahead.
It's so great about the industry because there's room for everyone, and all of us have different niches, and all of us have different passions for who we with. Like hoarding is not my thing, but I know a couple of people here in Columbus that do with that. And so if somebody calls me and I go on a consultation or I talk to them on the phone, I may refer them out because I know that's not my thing, and I know that if somebody calls one of them and it's just like an overwhelmed mom, they happen to be somebody whose kids are grown and out of the house that they can't relate, they'll refer them to me. And I think that's what's so great about NAPO and about the organizing industry as a whole is there is so much room for everyone. Because like you said, everyone, whether it's time management, whether it's in business, whether it's somebody who's gotten behind, whether it's somebody who needs strictly a house manager. I mean, there's so many different facets to this profession that they're for everyone, and everyone, could use us.
That is just you hit it right in the head. There's so many different areas and areas of expertise out there that I don't view any of us as competition. We're all in this together because you may know stuff that I'm not well versed in, and vice versa. And I think that's important. So graduation on 8 years. It's about 8 years. I know. It feels like the last couple of years have transitioned more into the media side of things, but I really didn't. I have a couple of clients that I kept, longtime clients where I actually just organized. And now for me, it's a lot of fun, especially like to go in and just kind of. I like being hands-on still, and and still being like in the trenches, so to speak. And I love the feeling of someone's life being changed by just getting something organized. I mean, it's amazing. Isn't it amazing? It's an amazing feeling, isn't it?
Well, and like just that idea that like when you leave and they're like, "Thank you," and like. This is awesome. Where you go back and they've maintained it, you've made that change in your life. It's selfish, but I feel like, I feel really good about that. So I feel okay about it because as long as their life is improving through what we're giving them, then it's okay for me to be like, I'm giving myself a pat on the back. I feel pretty good about myself right now.
You should, Christy. I say that and I say this to people without ego or anything. I'm just saying it's just more of that we get to do something that's actually meaningful in this business. Organized. I mean, I had jobs that were I was pushing papers, and I didn't give two craps about what I was doing, and that pile never went down. And it was just pushing and pushing. Now you do something where actually people's lives are affected in ways that are just wonderful, and I think when we touch someone else's life, and then they touch somebody else's life too, because their life is now organized. Makes the whole world just go around a little bit. I think a little better. That's kind of what I mean by it.
Well, and I think what's interesting, people always ask me, like if they're trying to get into the industry, or I try to really put myself out there for people who are new. Like if they come to the chapter meetings and they're new and they're trying to get into the industry, I always offer my email and questions and things like that. And one of the questions I always get asked is, "How do you advertise?" And I was like, "I work." That's how I advertise, because I feel like when you make an impact on somebody's life, that is the best testimonial for your business and for your skills. That a newspaper ad or a Facebook ad or something like that cannot buy you that this person has impacted my life in such a way, and especially since, a lot of times struggles with chronic disorganization is such a private struggle that people don't want to let you know. You want to have that face of, I'm Martha Stewart, or I'm Real Simple Magazine, or whatever, and I think that when somebody is willing to say, you know what, I couldn't do it on my own, and I called this person and they helped me, I feel like when somebody tells that, they're like, oh, give me that person's card, because I'm that person too that is struggling privately and want anyone to know. But if you told me, then that must mean they're pretty good.
Here's something I want to bring up. This is, you segue to something really great. How do you talk to moms where, how should I say this delicately? This is a family show. I can say this delicately. Mothers get judged very heavily, and many times by other mothers, and by women in general. I know this happens a lot. It happens a lot in LA, especially. And I've talked to many of my clients who finally hired me because they want to admit they need help. So what do you say to them initially? Kind of say, okay, girl, it's okay. Like there's no perfect person. I'm here to help you look even better. Like how do you talk to them?
Right. I am I'm a big believer that we all kind of have our own journeys when it comes to motherhood, and I call it your mom thing. For instance, my mom thing is food. Like, I want my kids to eat good food, and I want them to eat anything that I put in front of them. But you know what? There's probably things in my life that I'm not so good at with the mom part. I don't know, like making them put their toys away or something. Actually, I'm pretty good at that. But, they suffer with that. But, saying, so everyone has their mom thing. So I tell them, let's focus on the things that you're really good at with your kids and the things that are really important for you to teach your kids. And then all that other stuff that you feel bad about that, like, oh, well, this mom over here is really good at making her toddlers look picture perfect every single time. Well, that's her mom thing. So, like, you don't have to do it all. Focus in on what you're really good at and what the impact, this mom may want her children to look really good so that they grow up and they're self-confident and they feel good about themselves when they go out into public so that they, and that's great. That's fine. That's a great thing to give to your kids is confidence and being able to feel comfortable in public. So what is your mom thing? How can you focus on that? And then how can I help you with the other things that you're maybe not quite as good at? Because I really try to find that positive of, there's that idea that we have to do it all. Well, no, we don't have to do it all. But what is the one thing that we're really good at? Let's focus in on that, and then let me help you do the rest of it.
What are some of the common things that you run across when you're first talking to moms who need help in organizing? What are some of the topics that come up over and over again?
Well, I feel like a lot of the moms, they always say to me, like, when I was in college or before I had kids, I was so organized. And I feel like I can empathize with that so much because I don't feel like organizing is something that is in my blood. Like, I feel like there's two types of organizers. There's the learned and then there's the, intuitive.
I agree.
I feel like I'm a learned organizer. I am somebody who has loved my mom. She's amazing. And she noticed in me places where I needed to have systems, and from a young age established those things and made sure that I stuck with them. And I think that it's not an intuitive thing for me, but I know that I need them, therefore I have learned to put them in place. And so with these moms who maybe had systems either given to them by a college who said, here's a syllabus, here's a calendar, this is due then, this is due here, you have to have these things read. But now that they're on their own and they have to create that on, it's just not in their DNA. And so, I'm like, you can learn this. I am proof of that. You don't have to just be intuitive about setting up a calendar or getting your kids on a schedule of putting their toys away or putting their clothes away or going through their closets. It is something. So I feel like one of the big things is the mom's like, I used to be really good at this and now I'm not. And I was like, well, maybe it was that all along you were good at following direction. You weren't good at setting it up. So let's give you the skills to set it up for yourself. And hopefully that will make you feel more successful. But I would say that's probably the number one thing is that moms is just like, I used to be able to do this, and now that I have kids, I'm drowning.
Oh my God, you said something that just I love doing the show because, folks out there, I learn too. I mean, education will not stop till I'm dead, trust me. I'll be learning the rest of my life. I think learning is important. You just said something I never really thought about before in this way. many of us, we go to college or in a school system of some sort, trade school, whatever it is you do after high school, and you're given stuff, you're given a syllabus, you're given a schedule, you're given all this stuff you have to do by a certain time, it's all set up for you, all you do is follow. But then after you're let out on your own, I never even thought, some people aren't schedulers, some people aren't the organizers, so to speak. They're just not naturally that way. They can follow the directions, they can follow the parameters that are given to them, but actually set up themselves, that would be actually very tough for some people. I never even thought of it before in that way.
And if you're looking at 22 when you're learning this,
right.
Or 18 or whatever, that's a lot of time not have been doing it. So you have to be forgiving to yourself and say, you know what? If it took me 18 years to figure out how to follow a schedule that's given to me, I'm going to give myself a good amount of time to figure out how to make it work for myself. You have to remember that, change doesn't happen overnight, just like we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
But, our kids crave structure. They crave schedule and routine and things like that. And so much of our education system is sort of based around that idea of on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. you have physical education class and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And you're given that, and then all of a sudden you go out into the world, and, other than, you have to show up from work on time, there's so much of it you have to learn how to do. Yeah. And so, again, I feel like that I do a class for moms, and part of it is, teaching them how to teach kids about writing a schedule and making time, because if the parent isn't good at that, then how are they supposed to teach the kid to do it? And then you're just perpetuating the cycle of when they get out, they don't know what to do. They're going to flounder. So I teach the parents how to teach the kids how to do things like that.
I like that. I'm just sitting here, just you're taking me back, because my mom was a person who, my stepmom, who co-raised me, was a person who showed me organization. This is back in the 80s, in the early 90s. She showed me organization because she gave my first day planner. Remember day planners back in the day? And she gave my first day planner, and she used hers to death. I mean, she had she introduced me to Post-it notes. She introduced me to clips, paper clips. That day planner, the nucleus of life was in there. I mean, it was so good. It was so good. And we had a giant calendar on the wall, and 'cause I have some half siblings, and so there was the whole thing was, it was okay, this is what we're doing today. She had it all written out, and I will say my half siblings and myself, we are all organized because of watching her set up systems. And she'd probably be a good, if she's retired now, but she probably would have been a great organizer. She was, now I think about it now. But that's what I kind of learned. And I learned, I was like, wow, because she had to run the house and go to school and all kind of stuff. And she was doing a lot of stuff back then. And this is back, this is 30 years ago, before there was even a profession for it. And so it's very interesting. You say
my mom was the same way.
Yeah. So your mom's the same way too.
My mom was the same way. Everyone always says, well, where did you learn about organizing? I was like, from my mom. We had 5 kids. I'm the oldest of 5 kids, and they were a 14-year age span. And we were always going in, I was in high school, and I had a brother that was in preschool. And so you can imagine what our calendar was like. And I, to this day, hanging in my kitchen, have an actual handwritten calendar. Now, I'm a little behind on it because I was out of town, and then I had a crazy week last week. But I do, and each of my boys has their own color, and we know that, Quinn has something on this day, and Aben has something on this day, and when we look at the calendar, I'm orange, and Aben is blue, and my husband doesn't do as much as the rest of us. We all have our own colors, and when we look at the calendar, we know who's going what, when, and where, and and for me, I'm very kinesthetic. I learn by doing, and so the act of writing out a schedule or a calendar, I do have a digital calendar, but the act of writing it out has a big impact on me remembering or sort of being in tune with, am I too busy this week? Or, do I need to try to find somebody to fill in this week? Those kinds of things. And so I'm a big fan of the big handwritten calendars.
You're speaking my language. I do too. No, okay, here's the deal. So I have whiteboards in my house, my office, and I just sometimes, when I feel like I have a big day because there's people who follow me out there, I do a lot of different things. My life isn't just organizing. It's also, I'm a life coach. I'm on television. I have on the radio. I mean, I do a lot of stuff. So sometimes I'll actually, on the whiteboard for that day, I'll put, Wednesday, June 14th, 2017, and write out all things I need to do, including all my appointments, phone calls. But I also have a day planner still. I have both. And yeah, I got a digital kind of thing in there too, and blah blah. But I like writing stuff out too. I love the act of sitting down and writing it out and look. I'm a very visual person, and looking at it and go, okay, I got these 3 interviews today. Got it. With this person, with Christy, with Ellen, with us. Well, I have it all written down, and I still do. I feel like I'm an old person or something, but it works for me. I took it all the time. Write it down. That's one way to do it too. Write it down.
Yeah.
We have so much digital going on.
I tell people that all the time.
I like that. Oh my God, we're like. I love that. We're simpatico. I just think that I think people sometimes we're so digital so much, you get lost in translation somewhere sometimes. Another notification on your phone. Well, that can help, but you go ahead.
Sure. And I think there are some advantages. Like I have a couple of clients with ADHD who setting up calendar reminders or timers and things like that on their phone that ding and turning the other notifications off like Facebook and Twitter.
Right, yeah, right,
yeah.
Yeah.
But there are definitely some advantages to the digital thing, but I know for me personally, that doesn't work. That
Same here.
Because it's just not. It's not who I am. It's not how I learn or how I can function. So, I try to, as an organizer, embrace and find, just because it doesn't work for me, I think that's one of the things I initially learned in getting into the organizing industry. It's oh, that's fine. I'll just go do everything like what I have it in my house.
Yeah, you're right.
And I learned very quickly that, what works for me doesn't work for client A, B, or C. And so I really strive to not only set up a system that works for them, but to then follow up, especially if it's somebody that I kind of see and then I don't hear from again. I try to follow up, hey, it's been a month, how are things going? Are things working for you? Is there anything that we need to tweak? Because, sometimes you don't know, if you go and buy a new pair of pants, they may fit great in the dressing room, but after you wear them for 8 hours, they're falling down or whatever. And so, you don't know until you try it out.
Yes.
And so that's how it is with organizing, too. You don't know until you put the effort in trying the new system if it's going to work for you or if it needs to be tweaked. It doesn't have to be the end-all, be-all the first time.
Oh my God, Christy, you're the best. I just want to say I agree with you completely because I want people to know out there, people who listen to my program who are not organizers, because this program is for everyone. I have a lot of fans who listen to this because they want to get organized. One of the things we want to let you know is that we don't think that once we tell you something, that's that. No, there's things, it's an ever-changing process, and especially as we're talking about moms and the households and kids. The age 2 is different than age 3. Age 3 is different than age 4. Trust us. If you're a parent, you understand what I'm saying. You have to modify things here and there sometimes quickly or drastically sometimes. Or if you're moving all of a sudden, your spouse got a job somewhere else. There's a lot of things that happen. So a lot of times you don't know what's going to work until you are in it. And we're giving you suggestions. We're helping you set it up. Isn't that true? And you don't know until you're really in it and the day-to-day use of it, if it really works.
It's so true. I joke to all the friends, you go to baby showers, they're like, write down your parenting advice. And my parenting advice is always, as soon as you figure everything out, everything is going to change. And
yes.
It's so true because the minute you get your kids unpacking their backpacks or putting their lunch boxes into the sink when they come home from school, they're going to have free school lunch and they're not going to need to do it anymore, or something like that. So it's just a constantly evolving process of parenting, and you have to always be on your toes. But it just adds another layer if you feel like you're behind or disorganized or something like that, because if you don't have the ability to change directions quickly in an organized household, then it's going to be even more stressful.
I agree. And also, if you have multiple children, not saying it's not hard to have one, but if you have multiple children, that's double the work or triple the work, or how many you have, you got to make sure all that somehow still stays in place somewhere. You got to evolve with that too. And like you said, kids different ages. You have one that's 2 and the one that's 5. That's 2 different lives they're having, and 2 different systems.
Right.
You kind of
and 2 different sets of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
The
and
stuff is completely different.
Yes, and there's different things you need for each one. Plus, once it becomes school age, even that starts changing too when they're school age. From kindergarten, first grade to middle school, it's a whole different thing. Middle school to high school, I mean, it continues. And for me, I have two grown daughters now, and I have grandchildren. The parenting doesn't stop, you guys. I want to tell you the myth that when you turn 18 years old, you're done. It's all a myth. It's an urban legend. It's not done at all. It's crazy. No, I love my daughters. And it says it's Father's Day week, and I love my daughters. But no, it doesn't stop. But it's going back to your thing. It's completely a evolutionary process just throughout. I mean, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Definitely.
Here's a scenario. So I'm a mom. I got two kids. Because we're in Ohio. I have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, A-frame row house with a nice yard. No fence, because in Ohio, why have a fence? And I'm a stay-at-home mom. So I'm coming to you because I need help just kind of organizing my kids are school age. They have lots of artwork. And what do I do? What do I do with all their artwork? They have so much artwork, and they want to save some of it. They want to, what do I do with that? Well, how do I handle artwork?
So, my big thing with the artwork is my line, and anyone who has done a class with me or even a session with me will know, like, I say, if everything is a 10, then nothing is a 10. Meaning, like, if you were to rank things on a scale of 1 to 10, the 10 being the best and 1 being the worst, you would have an idea of, okay, these are the things that I want, these are the things that are special, these are the things that are a priority, because they're the 10s, or maybe even it's like the 7s through 10s. But the things on the lower end of the scale are not so important. And it's really important to teach our kids, like, really, what is your favorite? What is the best? Because if we save every scrap of paper from the, like, beautiful painting that they did for the school art show to the piece of office paper with 2 lines of blue crayon on it, what it does is it devalues the thing that really is special. And so what I tell parents is, first, set a parameter, like, based on the size of your house, like, how much can you realistically keep in your house? So if it's 1 box and you have to fill all of their school artwork in that box, then put it in there. And then the other thing is to continually revisit that box. So, what the idea of habituation, which is, the further you get away from the initial impact something has on you, your feelings will change. And so the kid may bring it home from school and be like, this is the best thing I've ever done. I haven't had this forever. Yes. And then a year later, they're like, that's dumb. I don't like that anymore.
Oh, my God,
Going back and revisiting is going to help you cull it and make it so that there's not so much there. But as a parent, set the parameters and say, this is it. You get this pocket in this folder in this box, or you get this shoe box, or you get whatever. And if you as a parent feel like there's something that they're getting rid of that you like, that's you. You need a U box for that, because don't make your kids keep stuff, because I have so many friends whose parents dump on them all this schoolwork and school stuff that they save, and the kids are like, I don't want this. So you have to, have your own box, but then set those parameters for the kids and really try to start to teach them about what is your favorite, what is the thing that you like the most, because that's going to translate to other things in their life as far as being able to pare down their closets. Like, I can't have 15 dresses in here. There's just not room. So what are my 8 favorites? Or, if I need to schedule things, what's my priority? Like, I need to get this paper done, but I really want to go to lunch with this person. How do I schedule that in? And teaching your kids to discern between most important and least important is a really important skill to have. So that's kind of where I start with the artwork is, it's going to be a process, but start teaching them about, discerning those favorites, and then going back and revisiting and seeing if your tastes have changed and if your idea of what you like has changed, and then sort of going from there.
You touched upon something that I'm glad you said briefly. Sometimes it's the parents who want to keep stuff, and the kids are like, I don't care about that. Yeah, that's also, that's another thing too, is like, okay, moms, dads, or guardians, you have to also look at things too. It may be sentimental to you on some level. Those two blue lines of crayon on that paper, but is it really that worth it? Is it that sentimental? Does it really have any significant value that 10, 15 years from now you can go, wow, this paper is amazing. And I think that's because sometimes it is the kids. Sometimes the kids are like, I want to keep that, blah blah. But sometimes it's the parents too. In my own practice, I've had that where like, well, they don't care anymore, but I kind of want to keep it. This is when I'm like, are you sure? I mean, like, it's not really any real art, not really, but you have a memory attached to it.
And you know what? It may be the first time that kid held a crayon or whatever,
Yeah.
and so that might be what the significance is to that parent, and that's fine. Like if it's something that's important to you, but like you said, you can't keep every single piece of paper with crayon on it.
Yeah,
like none of us have space for that kind of stuff.
No, we don't. No, I want to ask you. Okay, now here's something I want to talk about that's very specific to Ohio. I mean, just to the Midwest. It's like in Los Angeles, we have a wide variety of housing. It could be from tiny spaces to big ones. You go to New York City, everything's small. There's no wide space. Everything's up and down. So in Ohio, as we know, I just mentioned a three bedroom, 2-bathroom row house. So I mean, those kind of bigger housing stuff. So how does the organizing differ there? I mean, how is it in Ohio? Do you see more clutter, or do you see? I mean, how do you see it here?
I mean, I would say surprisingly, I want to say I saw a thing that said that the average house size in, like, the Columbus area is, like, 3,200 square foot or something like that.
Okay.
I might be fudging it a little bit, but I know it's somewhere in that range, like 2,800 to 3,200 square feet. So that's a lot of space.
That is.
Especially somebody coming from LA.
Yes, that is.
And you would be surprised that I feel like the more space you have, that something triggers in your brain and says, I can have more stuff now because I have more
Yes,
space.
exactly.
And most of the time you've moved up, like you've gone to school or you moved out of mom and dad's house and you've gotten an apartment, and then you move into maybe like with your future spouse or with roommates, you live in a 2 or 3 bedroom like townhouse or condo or something like that. And then from there you buy a house, which is maybe like 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. And then you move up, you start having a family and you move up. And what happens is as you get that space, instead of being like, oh, this is great, now I can like be more organized or I can, you just continue to fill it and fill it and fill it and fill it. And that's one thing I really see is like sometimes I go into these houses, I have some clients that live in these really big, 10,000 square foot houses.
Wow.
And they have just as much storage problem as somebody that lives in a 1,500 square foot house, because I feel like, what is that principle that like you expand to fill? Is it the Pareto principle?
Yes.
Like, you expand to fill the space that you're in, or like,
yes.
I know it's work, but it's sort of the same with stuff, is that you will fill it. And so that's really a struggle, despite the fact that we seem to have more room. I think what that just does in a lot of people's minds is it invites more stuff.
Yeah.
And, in the last 30 years, I feel like the reason the professional organizing industry has sort of taken off is, I call it the Walmartization of America, where everything became very available and cheap.
Yes.
And so now everyone they can afford it, so they have so much stuff. They have Christmas dishes and Easter dishes and 4th of July dishes, and, they have room to keep them. But the fact is like, do you really have room to keep them? Or, are you adding more to your life, more stress to your life, because now you're having to deal with all of this extra stuff just because you may have a basement that you can put them in. Mm-hmm.
That's the problem, because in LA, it's garages. If you have a garage, you're screwed. You don't park your cars in there. I hear it's basements. We don't have basements out there. So I always feel like when I go to the Midwest, I had clients in Kansas and things, and it's always the basement. The basement was always, I put it down there. It's out of the way, but then the basement gets full, then it starts spilling upstairs. So then your purpose is defeated because now your basement's full of stuff. And if there's a tornado, you can't go down there.
Trust me when I tell you.
Yeah.
Garages are just as bad too.
They are.
In fact, Ellen, who you will talk to later,
yes.
I love her line about your car is one of the biggest investments that you make besides your house, and yet we're all parking our cars outside so that we can have, $200 worth of junk sitting stored in our garage. And you've got a $40,000 car sitting in your your driveway experiencing Ohio thunderstorms and hail, and, possibilities of a tornado.
Yes.
And I always think about that, and I share that with my clients. I'm like, my wise friend Ellen says you should be parking in your garage because the stuff in there isn't worth as much as your car.
That's so true. Christy, I can talk to you forever. Oh my God, you're so good. I'm so glad that we connected. You are people.
Absolutely.
If you're in the Ohio, Columbus area, you need to look her up. She's good because you do trainings and speakings through NAPO, right?
I do. Well, and I do my own classes.
Oh, good.
Actually, this summer I'm starting a super cool little series. I actually had the first one last night where it's beer and organizing. So I get rooms at local places. Last night we were at a brewery, and you come in for the class, and we talk about a topic that has to do with organizing. But it's a nice night out because I find with the moms that they have two issues. They have organizing issues, but they also have issues taking time for themselves.
Yeah.
So the way that parents can take time for themselves, they feel like they get a little night out, but it's also educational because they're going to take a nugget home that's going to help them with their families, and they have a fun night out with their friends. So I have another paper organizing one in the month of June, and then in July I'm doing back to school ones.
I love that idea, Christy. I love that. I wish I could go. I wish I was here. I could go. That's like fun. What do you say? If I'm ever in town, I'll have to go in your class. That's such a great idea to see you in action. So they can find everything on your website, correct? What is your website?
It is www.simplesolutionsdesign.com, and I'm also on Instagram and Twitter at SSD Organizing, and you can find me on Facebook at Simple Solutions Design.
Yeah, that's good. That's oh my God, it's so good. Christy, thanks for being on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, James, anytime, man.
Yeah, you have to come.
I had a great time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you have to come back on the show. We'll have you back on. We're gonna be back on because I'm thinking actually already you have back to school tips. You said. I think we need to have you on later on in the fall, beginning of late summer. Well, I'll talk to you and have you back on. We'll talk about some stuff because people are going to need these tips, I'm sure, as they go back to school.
I think that sounds like a fantastic idea.
Okay, thank you. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care, James. Thanks so much.
Bye. That's Christy Lingo, and she is in Columbus, Ohio. She is a NAPO chapter member of Ohio chapter, and she's a great organizer. And as you say, she's here to help moms. There's a lot. We want to make sure you moms can have enough time to focus on just raising the children. That's the most important thing, is raising our kids. And I just admire people who can help you do that. And organizers are good. She's good. I'm James Lott Jr., of course. I'm here in Columbus for a few days, and then I head back out to my next destination. I'll be doing live shows from Pittsburgh and from South Florida. I want to tell you to follow me on all the interwebs. The SOS Show is on Facebook. Follow and like the page. The SOS_ show is on Twitter. Yes, that's right, on Twitter. And James Lott Jr., all on social media platforms. And my song, which you're going to hear now, is out tomorrow on iTunes. It's called I Am Ready. Because I am ready for success. Aren't you? Talk to you next time.
I am success.